Imagine stepping off a bustling street right in the middle of the late 1800s.
Okay, I'm picturing it. Lots of horse-drawn carriages, probably.
Yeah, exactly. And you walk into this incredibly opulent, wood-paneled private study, and you sit down across from Andrew Carnegie.
Oh, wow. I mean, at that point in history, Carnegie isn't just rich.
Right, it's not normal wealth.
No, he commands a level of wealth that is, frankly, almost incomprehensible today. We're talking hundreds of billions of dollars in modern money.
He literally controls the entire steel industry.
He is the architect of the American Gilded Age.
Exactly. So he looks you dead in the eye and he offers you a challenge. And it sounds honestly more like a psychological experiment than a job offer.
Those are always the most dangerous kinds of offers.
Right. So he tells you he wants you to spend the next 20 years of your life traveling, hunting down and interviewing the absolute richest, most successful people on the planet.
I mean, that sounds incredible. You're being handed VIP access to the greatest minds of a century. Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, John D. Rockefeller.
The networking alone is priceless, right?
Oh, totally. Anyone would lean forward in their chair for that.
But, and here's the massive catch. It's a deeply uncomfortable one. Carnegie leans back and says, I'll open all the doors. I'll make all the introductions, but I am not going to pay you a single dime for those 20 years.
Wait, zero? For 20 years of labor?
Zero. No salary, no stipend, no living expenses, nothing.
That is brutal.
Your only compensation is the knowledge you extract. You just get the secret to wealth. So if you're listening to this right now and you're sitting in that chair, you have to ask yourself a serious question.
Is the mere blueprint of success actually more valuable than 20 years of guaranteed income?
Right. Would you take that deal?
Well, I think that proposition is just a brilliant filter. Carnegie wasn't just being cheap, you know?
No, he had the money.
Exactly. He was engineering a stress test. He was actively filtering out anyone who was merely curious or just looking for a cushy job.
Because anyone who accepts that deal inherently believes that wealth isn't about, well, hoarding a salary.
Right. They have to believe that wealth is a cognitive state first. The knowledge, the mental framework, that's the true asset.
If you have the blueprint, the money is just an inevitable byproduct.
Exactly.
And the crazy thing is, someone actually said yes.
Napoleon Hill.
Yes. A young, incredibly hungry journalist named Napoleon Hill took the deal. And he actually survived the 20 years.
Which is a miracle in itself.
It really is. And he synthesized the common denominators of over 500 millionaires into an exact blueprint. And that is what we are unpacking today.
I am so ready for this.
So if you are listening to this deep dive right now, our mission today is simple. We are decoding the universal principles of success from his massive body of work.
This is essentially an operating system upgrade for how you perceive value, effort, and really reality itself.
And we aren't just going to list rules, you know, like a boring textbook. We are going to break down the mechanics of why they actually work.
Because that's where the real value is. The whole premise we're looking at is a total inversion of how most people operate.
How so?
Well, most people think, I need resources to change my mindset.
Right.
Like, once I have the money, then I'll think like a rich person.
No, totally. The classic, if I win the lottery, then I'll be disciplined.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the reality, uncovered by those decades of interviews, is the exact opposite. You must fundamentally rewire your mindset first to acquire the resources.
So how do you even begin a 20-year journey with absolutely no pay?
You have to want it badly.
Right. With a terrifying intensity. Which brings us to the absolute bedrock of this entire philosophy, desire.
But we have to be really careful here, because desire is a word that just gets thrown around so casually today.
Yeah, I desire a vacation. I desire a taco.
Exactly. Or even, I desire a promotion. But the kind of desire required to fuel an empire is categorically different from a wish.
A wish is passive, right?
Totally passive.
Yeah.
It's just a state of longing that has no kinetic energy. The framework we're looking at defines this starting point as a passionate, burning obsession.
A burning obsession.
Yes. It requires a singular focus that honestly borders on madness. Because without that level of emotional intensity, you'll just collapse at the first sign of friction.
Which makes sense. If you're working for free for 20 years, friction is guaranteed.
Oh, daily friction.
So to make sure this isn't just some abstract, fuzzy feeling, there is a highly rigorous 6-step mechanical process. It's designed to force a vague wish into physical reality.
And these 6 steps are brilliant.
Let's dissect them for the listener because they are essentially an algorithm for human behavior. Step 1, you must determine the exact amount of money or the precise metric of success you want.
Yeah, saying I want to be rich is a catastrophic failure of goal setting.
Right. Step 2, determine exactly what you intend to give in return. Because the universe does not run on a something-for-nothing model.
Never has, never will.
Step 3, establish a definitive, non-negotiable date by which you will achieve it.
A hard deadline.
Yes. Step 4, create a definite plan and act on it immediately, regardless of your readiness.
That is a huge one. Act immediately.
Step 5, write all of this down in a single, hyper-clear statement. And step 6, the final one, read it aloud, with intense emotion, twice a day. Once when you wake up and once right before you go to sleep.
What is so remarkable about those 6 steps is how perfectly they map onto modern behavioral psychology and neuroscience.
Even though they were codified, nearly a century ago?
Exactly. Take step 1, for instance.
Yeah.
Extreme specificity. When you replace a vague thought like, I want to be rich, with a concrete statement like, I will acquire $1 million, you're doing something very specific to your brain.
What's happening mechanically there?
You are programming your brain's reticular activating system, or the RAS.
The RAS.
Yeah, it's this bundle of nerves in our brainstem that filters out unnecessary information. If your goal is vague, your brain literally doesn't know what opportunities to look for.
Because there's too much data.
Exactly. But if your goal is mathematically precise, your brain suddenly starts noticing the exact people, the specific conversations, and the data points needed to reach that specific number.
It's like the classic red car phenomenon, right?
That was perfectly said.
You never notice red cars until you buy one, and suddenly they're everywhere on the highway.
The cars were always there. Your filter is what changed.
So the first step tunes the filter. That's fascinating, but let's look at step 4 because I think people struggle with this one the most. Acting immediately before you feel ready.
Oh yeah, people hate that.
Why is the illusion of readiness so dangerous?
Because in almost every case, readiness is actually a psychological defense mechanism disguised as logistics.
Disguised as logistics, wow.
Yeah, people convince themselves, oh, I just need one more degree, or I need one more month of planning, or I need the perfect economic conditions.
When really they're just terrified.
Exactly. It is a stalling tactic driven entirely by fear. So demanding immediate action severs the brain's ability to rationalize that procrastination. It forces immediate momentum.
Okay, I love that, but I really need to push back on step 6.
The reading aloud part.
Yeah. Writing a statement down and reading it out loud twice a day. I mean, in our modern culture, that borders on, toxic positivity.
Or the whole magical manifestation trend on social media.
Yes. Where people think they can just sit on their couch in their living room, visualize a Ferrari, and then just wait for it to magically appear in the driveway. How is this not just pure self-delusion?
It's a great question. And honestly, that is the most common and dangerous misinterpretation of this entire process.
Right, because it sounds a bit woo-woo on the surface.
It does.
Yeah.
But it isn't magic at all. It is forced neuroplasticity. We really have to look at the subsequent mechanisms of faith and autosuggestion to understand why reading it out loud actually matters.
Okay, unpack that for us, because faith is a loaded word.
It is. But faith, in this highly specific framework, has absolutely nothing to do with sitting around waiting for a cosmic handout.
Thank goodness.
Right. Instead, it is the deliberate construction of psychological armor against temporary defeat.
Psychological armor.
Yes. Because the data from those hundreds of interviews Carnegie's guy did showed one universal truth. Massive failure is inevitable.
It's going to happen to everyone.
Exactly. And when you inevitably hit a wall, your brain's default biological response is a massive cortisol spike. You panic, and your brain starts rationalizing why you should just quit.
So the repetition, the reading it twice a day, isn't about conjuring a car out of thin air. It's about fundamentally altering your baseline response to trauma and failure.
Precisely. You are pre-programming the response. And that is where autosuggestion comes into play.
Autosuggestion.
Yeah. Think of the conscious mind as rational and cynical. It's the part that sets the goal. But the subconscious mind, that's the actual engine room of human behavior.
It runs everything in the background.
Everything. It governs our deeply ingrained habits, our risk tolerance, our implicit biases, and the subconscious does not process logic at all.
Wait, really? No logic?
None. It only processes emotion. So if you just read your goal off a piece of paper like it's a grocery list, Your subconscious wholly ignores it.
Oh, so you have to tie the specific goal to a visceral, undeniable emotional state.
Yes, by reading the specific goal aloud, while actively forcing yourself to feel the intense emotion of already having achieved it, you are bypassing that critical, cynical faculty of your conscious mind.
You're hacking the system.
You are. You are using repetitive emotional conditioning. It's heavy in learning.
Neurons that fire together wire together.
Exactly. You are literally convincing your subconscious that the goal is already a reality. And once the subconscious accepts it as reality, it begins directing your thousands of micro decisions every single day toward that specific reality.
Okay, that actually makes total sense. It's essentially cognitive behavioral therapy mixed with intense focus.
That's a great way to put it.
You're upgrading your own operating system so that when the inevitable disaster strikes, your default reaction isn't, oh no, I'm ruined. Your reaction is, okay, this is just a temporary data point on the way to the goal.
Exactly. The goal hasn't changed, just the immediate circumstance.
But let's pivot here. Because belief without a structural foundation is just delusion.
Right. You can't just believe your way into a skyscraper.
Exactly. I can program my subconscious all day long to believe I am a master architect. But if I don't know how to pour concrete or read a blueprint, the building is going to collapse and hurt someone.
Very true.
Which brings us to the raw materials of success: specialized knowledge and imagination.
This is where the framework pivots from internal psychology to external utility. And honestly, the assertion made here completely shatters the traditional industrial age model of education.
I want to dig into that because society loves the generalist. We are conditioned from birth to be well-rounded.
Oh, absolutely.
We go to school to learn a little bit of history, a bit of biology, a bit of literature, some math. And you're saying that being a walking encyclopedia holds zero market value?
Think about how market value is determined. It's driven by scarcity and utility.
Well, I think economic.
Yeah. General knowledge is abundant. Everyone has it, and therefore it is a commodity. The framework redefines what it actually means to be educated.
How does it define it?
An educated person is not someone who has memorized thousands of scattered facts. An educated person is someone who has so developed their mind that they can acquire anything they want without violating the rights of others.
That's a very different definition.
It is. It's about knowing exactly where to source specialized knowledge when a specific problem arises, and knowing how to organize that knowledge into a definite plan of action.
Okay, so think about it like the difference between a Swiss Army knife and a surgeon's scalpel.
Oh, I like that.
Right. A Swiss Army knife is the ultimate generalist tool. It has a screwdriver, a tiny saw, a little bottle opener. It is incredibly useful for minor, everyday inconveniences.
Very handy on a camping trip.
Exactly. But it is fundamentally a commodity. You can buy one anywhere for $20. But now, look at a surgeon's scalpel.
Very different tool.
It does exactly one thing. It cuts human tissue with microscopic precision. Because it is so highly specialized, it commands absolute monopoly power in an operating room.
You wouldn't use a Swiss Army knife for open heart surgery.
I really hope not. The market pays millions of dollars for the mind that wields that scalpel. So if you want to build immense wealth, you cannot be a Swiss Army knife. You have to be the scalpel.
And we can look at historical precedent for this. There's a famous story about Henry Ford during a libel trial.
Oh, I've heard parts of this.
Yeah, so Ford was being cross-examined by a lawyer who was actively trying to prove Ford was ignorant just because he lacked formal education.
Which is incredibly arrogant.
Totally.
Yeah.
The lawyer was rapid-firing general trivia questions at him. History dates, trivial facts, but was trying to trip him up.
Right.
Finally, Ford became exhausted. And he pointed out that he had a row of electric push buttons on his desk back in the office.
The famous buttons.
Yes. He told the lawyer if he pressed the right button, he could summon an expert who could answer any specific question the lawyer was asking. Ford's genius wasn't in knowing the trivia.
He didn't need to know the capital of every state.
Exactly. His genius was in organizing specialized knowledge to mass-produce the automobile.
He owned the buttons. He didn't need to be the database. He was the search engine.
Perfect analogy.
Which is a perfect segue into what you actually do with that specialized knowledge once you summon it. You need imagination.
And the analysis here creates a fascinating division. There are two distinct types of imagination: synthetic and creative.
This distinction is so crucial, I think, because people listening might feel they aren't quote unquote, creative enough to be successful.
That's a huge mental block for people.
So let's define synthetic imagination first.
Synthetic imagination is the faculty of rearranging existing concepts, ideas, or plans into new combinations.
So it's not pulling something out of thin air.
No, it does not create anything out of nothing. It relies entirely on experience, observation, and existing parts.
If we look at modern innovation, almost all of it is synthetic, right?
Yeah.
Look at Steve Jobs. He didn't invent the computer.
No, he didn't.
And he certainly didn't invent typography, but he took the beautiful typography he learned in a random college calligraphy class, and he combined it with the raw computing power of early machines.
Piece A and piece B.
Exactly. That combination created the Mac. It was a purely synthetic yet revolutionary act of imagination.
It's connecting the dots in a way no one else saw.
Yeah.
But then you have the second tier, which is creative imagination.
An elusive one.
Yes, this is described as a much more profound faculty. It's the mechanism through which sudden hunches, deep inspirations, and massive paradigm-shifting ideas are received.
True 0 to 1 creation.
Exactly. It's not just rearranging, it's conceiving of something entirely novel.
The example of Coca-Cola is wild when you view it through this specific lens.
Well, the origin story is fascinating.
Right, because the actual physical formula for Coca-Cola was just a mixture of ingredients created by a pharmacist in a kettle.
That's just specialized knowledge.
Yeah.
Chemistry.
Exactly. But Asa Candler, the man who actually bought the formula from the pharmacist, he didn't just see a sugary syrup.
No, his imagination conceived of a global branding empire.
He envisioned everyone on the entire earth holding that specific bottle. The syrup was the knowledge, but the concept of ubiquitous emotional branding that was the creative imagination that turned a few dollars of raw ingredients into a multi-billion-dollar empire.
And the text points out a really vital dependency here. This high-level creative imagination only activates when the conscious mind is vibrating at an exceedingly high rate.
Wait, vibrating? What causes that?
The intense burning desire we established back in step 1.
Oh, it all links back.
Yes. The emotional engine powers the imagination, which then organizes the specialized knowledge. It's a closed-loop system of compounding power.
So if you are listening right now, you really have to audit yourself. Are you just hoarding general facts, or are you sharpening a specialized scalpel?
And more importantly, are you using your synthetic imagination to combine your existing skills in a way no one else has thought of?
Because having the scalpel in the idea isn't the finish line. Honestly, it's barely the starting line. Ideas are notoriously cheap.
Everyone has $1 million idea in the shower.
Exactly. Execution is where dreams are either forged into reality or absolutely crushed. Which brings us to the architecture of execution.
Built on 3 massive pillars: organized planning, decision, and persistence.
Let's start with organized planning. You cannot accumulate massive wealth through sheer force of will alone. You can't just sit there and vibrate really hard.
No, the universe doesn't care how hard you're vibrating if you don't have a product. You must offer a tangible service or product in exchange for capital. You need a commercial strategy.
And the framework insists on hyper-specific planning. Very similar to what we call SMART goals today, right?
Yes. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound.
But what I find incredibly liberating about this specific source text is its deeply pragmatic attitude toward failure. It doesn't treat failure as a character flaw.
Not at all.
It treats it as a structural inevitability.
The analysis operates on the core assumption that your first plan will be defective, just inherently.
It's going to fail.
And your second plan will likely fail as well. The archetypal example here is Thomas Edison.
The light bulb.
Right. He famously created 10,000 failed prototypes before perfecting the incandescent light bulb.
10,000. That number is staggering.
And the insight here isn't just some cheesy motivational poster about trying hard. It's a mechanical analysis of failure.
What do you mean by mechanical?
If a plan fails, it merely indicates that the specific arrangement of resources was unsound. That's it. It has zero bearing on the validity of the ultimate goal.
So you don't abandon the goal?
Never. You completely scrap the flawed plan, build a new one, and immediately execute again.
Edison didn't fail 10,000 times. He successfully executed 10,000 data-gathering experiments that proved exactly how a light bulb does not work.
Precisely.
But the sheer psychological endurance required to look at 9,999 failures and keep going, that requires a terrifying level of resolve.
It does. And that relies heavily on the next pillar, which is decision. The data pulled from analyzing tens of thousands of failures reveals a staggering pattern.
What did the data show?
The behavioral analysis is stark. When researchers examined 25,000 individuals who had experienced chronic failure, they found one universal trait.
Just one.
One dominant one. The habit of reaching decisions very slowly and changing those decisions very quickly and frequently.
Wow. Slow to decide, quick to quit.
Exactly. Conversely, the analysis of the world's most successful individuals showed the exact opposite polarity. They reached decisions rapidly and confidently, and they changed their minds excruciatingly slowly, if at all.
Okay, but wait. How do we reconcile that with modern business strategy? Today, especially in tech, we are obsessed with being agile.
Right, the whole pivot culture.
We are told to pivot, to iterate, to fail fast. If a founder refuses to change their mind when the market shifts, we call them stubborn, arrogant, or just delusional.
It's a fine line.
How is being slow to change your mind not just the sunk cost fallacy? Where is the line between Edison's brilliant persistence and a CEO driving their company straight off a cliff?
That is the critical nuance. You have to actively separate the destination from the route.
Destination versus route.
Yes. The framework advocates for extreme, unyielding stubbornness regarding the ultimate goal, but high flexibility regarding the organized plan used to get there. Failure cases changed their goals every single time they faced criticism or friction. If you let every passing comment from a cynical family member or a pessimistic news cycle alter your ultimate destination, you lack the core desire required to win.
You're just a leaf blowing in the wind.
Exactly. Edison changed his plan, the specific filament material, 10,000 times. He was incredibly agile in his execution.
But he was utterly inflexible on his decision to invent the light bulb itself.
Uncompromising on the destination, totally fluid on the route.
That completely reframes stubbornness for me. If you constantly change the destination just because the road is bumpy, you'll spend your entire life driving in circles.
And you'll run out of gas before you get anywhere. Which leads directly into the third pillar of execution. Persistence.
And the conceptualization of poverty or chronic failure in this framework is honestly chilling. It is described as a black hole.
It acts as a gravitational force.
Yep.
Mediocrity and failure are the default states of nature.
They are the path of absolute least resistance.
Exactly. If you exert zero energy, gravity just pulls you down into that black hole. Escaping it requires a sustained, violent thrust of energy, which we call persistence.
But willpower is a finite resource, right? If persistence relies solely on white-knuckling your way through life, eventually you get exhausted and gravity wins.
Which is exactly why the framework emphasizes that persistence must be transitioned from a state of willpower into a state of habit.
From willpower to habit.
Yes. Willpower is the ignition. Habit is the engine. What you do repeatedly, even the smallest daily actions, eventually forms a neurological groove.
Like carving a riverbed.
Perfect comparison.
Yeah.
Over time, the habit takes the cognitive load off your willpower. You no longer have to wake up and decide to endure. Endurance simply becomes your baseline operating rhythm.
So the people who ultimately win aren't necessarily smarter or luckier. They have just systematically trained their habit of persistence to be stronger than their biological fear of temporary defeat.
That's exactly it.
Now, up to this point, everything we've talked about, goal setting, acquiring specific knowledge, planning, and habit building, it all makes logical, intuitive sense in a standard business school context.
It's very grounded.
But here is where this deep dive takes a massive turn. We are crossing the border from standard commercial strategy into highly advanced, deeply psychological, and frequently misunderstood mechanisms of immense power.
The deep end of the pool.
We are moving into the power of the mastermind and the principle of sex transmutation.
These are the true force multipliers. You can build a good living using the previous steps, absolutely.
Yeah.
But monumental, paradigm-shifting wealth requires external and primal energy sources.
Let's analyze the mastermind principle first, because it's a term everyone uses now.
But they misuse it.
Right. What is the precise definition here?
A coordination of knowledge and effort in a spirit of absolute harmony between two or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose.
In modern terms, we often just call this networking. But networking is way too shallow a word for what this actually is.
Networking is just swapping business cards at a conference.
Exactly. The mastermind is attempting to solve the fundamental limitation of being human. You only have 24 hours in a day, and you only have one perspective.
A true mastermind is about creating an emergent property.
Which means what exactly?
It relies on the Gestalt principle, that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. The psychological theory here is that when two or more minds coordinate in perfect harmony, they actually create a third, intangible, invisible force.
A super brain.
Yes. If you look at massive technological leaps, they are rarely solo endeavors. The PayPal Mafia is a perfect modern example.
No, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Reid Hoffman.
Exactly. They possess wildly different specialized knowledge, but they were aligned in perfect harmony toward one goal: revolutionizing digital finance.
Their combined intellectual friction-generated ideas and solutions that none of them could have produced in isolation.
Not a chance. But the prerequisite is absolute harmony.
That's the catch.
If you put 5 brilliant founders in a room and they're secretly battling over ego, equity, or conflicting visions, the mastermind completely collapses.
The energy is spent on internal friction rather than external execution. You form this shared superbrain, and any virus of distrust just crashes the whole server.
Which means the curation of your mastermind group is arguably the most high-stakes decision you will make. You are not looking for friends.
You're looking for intellectual equals who possess the specialized knowledge you lack and who share an identical intensity of desire.
Exactly.
Okay, we have to address the elephant in the room now. The principle that always makes people stop in their tracks when they encounter this material.
Sex transmutation.
Yes, it sounds incredibly esoteric, perhaps even taboo, but it is treated in the text with absolute clinical seriousness.
It is treated seriously because it is the most potent biological reality of the human condition.
Let's unpack that.
The text identifies the sexual drive as the single most fundamental, primal, and powerful urge we possess. From an evolutionary biology standpoint, it is the mechanism that ensures the continuation of the species.
It has to be powerful or we wouldn't survive.
Exactly. It is so powerful that humans will actively risk their reputations, their fortunes, and even their lives under its influence.
So what does transmutation actually mean in this context? Because it sounds like we're venturing into some sort of monastic suppression.
No, it is the exact opposite of suppression. Suppression is psychologically damaging. Transmutation simply means changing the state of energy from one form to another.
Like physics.
Exactly like physics. The analysis argues that when this intense physical energy is left unharnessed, it is dissipated entirely in physical pursuits or distraction.
It just leaks out.
Right. However, because this drive generates an immense neurochemical cocktail, massive spikes in dopamine and extreme focus, if you can consciously redirect that exact same physiological energy into intellectual, creative, or professional performance.
You unlock a superpower.
Yes.
Let me try to frame this for the listener. Imagine a massive, roaring river cutting through a valley. Unharnessed during a storm, that river can cause a catastrophic flood.
It destroys everything in its path.
Right. That is raw, unharnessed primal energy. But if you possess the engineering knowledge to build a dam, you don't destroy the river. You simply force that exact same raging water through a series of highly engineered turbines.
Oh, that's a brilliant analogy.
You transmute the destructive force of the flood into a hydroelectric plant that can power an entire civilization. The water didn't change. The sheer volume of energy didn't change.
The direction and application of the energy changed.
Exactly. That is a phenomenal evolution of the concept. The energy is channeled through the turbine of your specialized knowledge and your definite purpose.
And the analysis of historical geniuses, from massive industrialists to legendary artists, suggests that they implicitly understood how to tap into this redirected energy.
They used it as fuel.
By channeling this drive, they forced their cognitive state into high gear, fueling that creative imagination we discussed earlier. It is the biological fuel for deep, sustained flow states where the mind produces work of extraordinary caliber.
It is absolute energy management. It strips away all the taboo and forces you to look at your own biology as a raw resource.
Where are you directing your most potent energy?
Are you leaking it away in endless distractions, or are you aggressively funneling it into your burning desire?
It's a choice.
And this discussion of energy and frequency leads us perfectly into the final, most elevated phase of this deep dive.
The metaphysical apex.
Yes. We are moving beyond emotional biology and entering the absolute limits of human cognition. The subconscious, the brain, and the sixth sense.
We touched on the subconscious earlier, but we really need to understand its vulnerability.
Because it's open 247.
It operates continuously, absorbing data without any moral or logical filter whatsoever. It accepts whatever thoughts are mixed with emotion.
Good or bad.
Exactly. If you harbor deep anxieties and fears, the subconscious accepts those just as readily as it accepts faith and desire.
It's like viewing the mind as a fiercely fertile garden.
I love the garden metaphor.
The conscious mind is the gardener, and the subconscious is the soil. And the soil has no preference. It doesn't care if you plant a magnificent apple tree or a deadly poisonous weed.
It will diligently grow whatever seed you put in it.
As long as you water it with emotion. The terrifying part is that if you aren't actively planting seeds of desire, the environment around you, the news, cynical friends, economic panic will automatically blow weed seeds into your soil.
Which is exactly why cognitive hygiene is paramount. You have to guard the gates.
And to protect and upgrade that soil, the framework introduces an incredibly profound visualization technique. It's called the invisible counselor.
This is one of the most fascinating psychological hacks I have ever encountered in any text.
Explain how Hill actually did this.
So the author, Napoleon Hill, detailed how he would hold imaginary board meetings every single night before sleep.
Like in his mind.
Right. He would close his eyes and visualize a boardroom. But sitting at the table weren't his contemporaries. It was a curated council of the people he admired most in human history.
People like Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, Thomas Edison.
Yes. He would vividly imagine asking them for advice, simulating their exact personalities and thought processes to solve his real-world problems.
On the surface, if you just hear that, it sounds like an eccentric daydream.
Sounds crazy.
But underneath, it is a highly sophisticated method of cognitive decentering.
Break that down because it's so important.
Okay, let's look at the psychology of why this works for the listener. Imagine your business is facing a catastrophic supply chain failure.
Total disaster.
If you try to solve it yourself, right in that moment, your brain is flooded with cortisol, you're panicked, your ego is threatened, and your cognitive biases are actively blinding you to radical solutions.
You could have tunnel vision.
Exactly. But if you close your eyes and ask, okay, how would Steve Jobs solve this? You are forcing your brain to run a simulation. You are stepping entirely outside of your own panicked identity.
By role-playing an aggressive, visionary CEO, you bypass your own ego.
You access entirely different neural pathways to attack the problem from a fearless perspective.
You are utilizing your brain's mirror neuron system in a highly synthetic way. And this leads right into the conceptualization of the brain itself within this framework.
It pushes way beyond biology here.
It does. It suggests the human brain acts as both a broadcasting and receiving station for the vibration of thought.
Like a radio tower.
Exactly. When your brain is hyperstimulated by desire, faith, and transmuted energy, it broadcasts your intentions and becomes highly receptive to the subtle ideas and solutions vibrating in the environment around you.
Which culminates in the absolute pinnacle of this entire philosophy, the sixth sense.
And we really need to be clear, we aren't talking about Hollywood ghost stories here.
Oh, seeing dead people.
No. The sixth sense here is described as the absolute apex of human intuition. It is the faculty through which infinite intelligence communicates with the individual.
It's that moment when everything clicks.
When you have rigorously applied every single step we've discussed, from defining the burning desire, to meticulously planning, to programming the subconscious and leveraging the mastermind, your brain operates at such an optimized frequency that complex answers seem to formulate instantly.
Modern elite performers talk about this all the time.
They absolutely do.
A chess grandmaster doesn't logically calculate every single move, right? They look at the board and they just feel the right move instantly through supreme pattern recognition. High-level CEOs describe a gut feeling that allows them to see around corners and anticipate market crashes before the data even proves it.
The sixth sense is that guardian angel of intuition. It warns you of hidden dangers and highlights fleeting opportunities. It feels like magic to an outsider, but it is actually the ultimate synthesis of thousands of hours of conscious effort.
Finally being handed over to a perfectly tuned subconscious mind.
It is the ultimate state of flow. The conscious mind sets the coordinates, and the subconscious auto-navigates flawlessly.
It's beautiful, really. Okay, let's pull all of this together and synthesize this massive journey we've just been on.
It's a lot to process.
It is. We started with the foundation replacing vague wishes with a mathematically precise burning desire. We examined the absolute necessity of faith, not as blind hope, but as psychological armor against inevitable defeat.
Then we unpacked autosuggestion.
Right, as a tool to aggressively rewrite the subconscious through emotional repetition. We moved into the architecture, the realization that you must forge a highly specialized scalpel of knowledge and use synthetic and creative imagination to actually deploy it.
We analyze the harsh mechanics of execution.
Building smart plans, making rapid, unwavering decisions, and transforming willpower into the permanent habit of persistence. And finally, we explored the massive force multipliers.
Curating a mastermind to create emergent intelligence.
Transmuting primal biological energy into laser focus, and utilizing the invisible counselor to unlock the ultimate pattern recognition of the sixth sense.
You know, if there is one singular defining thesis that run through every single one of these principles, it is the simple assertion that thoughts are things.
Thoughts are things.
Your dominant cognitive state, when mixed with definiteness of purpose and relentless action, inevitably bends physical reality to match it. Wealth, success, or massive impact, it's not a lottery. It is the natural consequence of a highly engineered mind.
You are the architect of your own cognitive operating system, period. And as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to examine in your own life. And it builds on the profound reality of that mental garden we discussed.
We established that your subconscious mind works 24 hours a day, without your permission, unconditionally absorbing whatever emotional data it is exposed
And
to.
never sleeps.
So look really closely in your inputs today. Look at your daily media diet, the group chats you participate in, the complaints you casually entertain at the water cooler.
What exact seeds are you planting in your soil right now?
Are you fiercely protecting your mental real estate and cultivating the reality you actually want? Or are you passively watering the weeds of society's endless negativity?
Because the harvest is coming, whether you plant it intentionally or not. Remember Andrew Carnegie's challenge at the very beginning?
The ultimate secret to immense wealth wasn't a vault of cash.
It was this psychological blueprint to build your own vault. You have the blueprint now. How you build it is entirely up to you.